Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to Strip Club. I am pretty excited to share this pattern with you today. My mom designed this. It's a mom design. So Georgette Dell'Orco came up with this design, and if you know the story, she comes to dinner on Sundays, and oftentimes she brings a quilting design. And it's not true, but I like to joke that if it's good, she can stay for dinner. And if it's not, then she has to leave. She has to do the dishes. She's sweet, she does them anyway. Oh, that's terrible. I sound like a horrible daughter. So this pattern is called, because I couldn't come up with another name, Pointy Strip Star. What? Seriously? You'll always remember it now, right? So one of the reasons I really like this design is and you know, we do a lot of strip patterns, and we do a lot of star strip patterns, but this has a different angle for the star, creating a more dramatic star. So, would you like to see how it comes together? Yes. It uses 2.5-inch strips, and in this, I know, what a surprise. And in this sample, there are 4 background prints too. I think that gives it more interest in this quilt. The pattern is written so that you can do it with 1 background, 2 backgrounds, or 4 backgrounds. I'm going to show you in my teaching samples what 1 background looks like, so I won't be doing the multiples. But in this case, where's my star? Okay, good. Strips, and then the backgrounds. 4 will come together. So I don't know if you can see that there are distinctly 4, well, not really distinctly. There are tonal prints. There's 4 of them that will be used. In each block, there are 2 different backgrounds in this sample. So you can do it as 2 backgrounds, or you can also do it as 1 background. I'm not going to give you, there's a lot of little measurements. I'm not going to tell you what those are in this video. You're going to have to go get the pattern. So run to your local quilt shop. Oh, you're here. And get this pattern for the measurements, but I'll show you the technique today. So the first thing you will do is take your strips. You will cut some into points that will be the long star points, and some that will be the short star points. In each block there is a long star point and a short star point. So you'll subcut your strips into those sizes. And then you'll subcut your background fabric. And on the back of your background fabric, draw a faint diagonal line. You will measure down one side and take your ruler. Ours is a heavy line, so you can see it from where you're sitting. But you'll measure down and draw from one point to the corner for half of your background segments, and then you'll do it the other way for the other half. This is not the same. These are different. It may look like you can just flip it around and it's going to be the same, but if we flip this like this, you can see that it's still different. So there are 2 different angles that you have to draw the lines for. So for the first one, we will take our long print, our background fabric, and then you will place this onto this one. You'll go up the left side, make a little mark, and then you will take the diagonal line, go from the point to the dot. You will place it like that. Then you will sew just a thread inside of that drawn line. And you'll open it up and make 1 long segment that's 2.5 inches wide, like that. That's how we get the angle of the star. When you know it's a long, thin, straight segment, measuring 2.5 inches wide all the way down, you can flip this back and trim the excess fabric. You will have to trim parallel to the stitch line, and then there's a little bit of background that you'll also have to trim. So you have to go diagonally and then up just a little bit so that it is a flush piece that looks, no, this one's not trimmed, but this is what it would look like. Okay? Now we're going to do the short point. Same technique. Short background. Make a little mark up along the right side. Take that other diagonal piece and go like this. I do this every time. I'm like, how do I do this again? From there to there. Stitch. Ooh, we go to a different color. And flip. You get your short point. We have a long point, we have a short point. We need a little bit of background fabric, so we have cut a background triangle. And then we will put a half of a block together. Oopsie. By sewing. Make sure I do this right. It's better. The question was it better to drink or not to drink? I'm going to go with not drink in the beginning until you get your bearings, and then, you know, you can hit that red wine at midnight. That would be okay. So these two together, those two together, and then add your other piece to the other side. Okay, it's a funky looking shape. We need to make it into a triangle now. To make it into a triangle, we're going to measure up one side, same measurement the other side, and then cut from corner to corner using a straight edge. I have a straight edge right here, so it would be cut like that. I found a better way. Only for you here today am I going to show you this technique, because there's no way I can put this into the pattern. So we need to trim, and it's going to be the same trim size every time, but there's no ruler that will give you that measurement. There's no ruler that will be, it's too big for the strip tube ruler if anybody thinking about that. It's the same cut, but it's a little bigger. So we're going to create a pseudo template on your ruler, right? So you can do it with fabric, like one cut and do it with fabric or with paper, but you're going to follow the 45-degree line that's already on your ruler to the point where you need, and put some tape, and then put tape on the other side. So now when you cut, actually if you're right-handed, you would have your block the other way, right? Okay. So you will take this, put it right up against like that, and now you have the long edge, and you can, well, don't trim your points. You'll trim like that. So by putting tape on your ruler, you can create a pseudo template, and you don't have to do the markings like the pattern says. Your secondary tip, when you put the tape, make sure it's straight, and put it on the bottom of the ruler. What does that do? It gives you a little lip, so that when you place it right up against your fabric, it'll hold. So you can find the edges nice and neatly, and it'll hold in place. Blue painter's tape, great way to use it for the project. When you're done, just peel it off. So you have a nice little template for that. And you see my little arrows? That's my way of saying Daniela cut here, not here. All right, so you've made a bunch of triangles. Now, I'm sure you can imagine, you're just going to sew two triangles together to get your block. Isn't it pretty? So now you can kind of get a hint of another colorway there too. Notice too that it is the same background. So now you're really going to see the stars jump out at you. Questions on the technique? Yes, ma'am.
I can understand why at the beginning you had to draw the line. I didn't understand why you were making a mark.
So the question is, why do you make a mark up the side of the print strip, right? So the question is this, why do you make a mark? You don't have to. After a while, you get the feel for it. But we do make a little mark here that just helps keep this point and this point consistent.
And it says in the pattern where the point goes.
It does. The pattern will tell you how far to measure up for that point. And actually, I do like making that point, because when you're stitching, you will stitch to that point. You can also float it, but then it might skew a little bit as you're sewing. But if you have the point drawn on the fabric, then it's easier to get the point from the background to the marked point on the strip print. So I know it's a little extra step, but it's so worth it. So I'm surprised nobody's asked the main question I usually get at this point in the presentation. Do I have another colorway? I have half another colorway. I was sewing last night, and I had enough time to get it done. But then I thought, wouldn't it be fun if we looked at different layouts together? So I made the table runner. I had a fantastic bundle of fat quarters. They were Kaufman solids, and I pulled out the ones that had the same sort of color feel, and I made a table runner. This is when I have to think tall. Yes, I'll use my star. It's okay, it's happened before. My star's fallen. Okay, I got the first one up. And the solid's nice? Think tall, think tall, think tall. Okay, we'll be fine from here. Oh, I forgot to tell you, you want to trim them square. Once you trim them square, they're really great together. Yeah, you see it. It's different now. I know you're not going to like those together, are you? You're going to want me to change that. Is it pretty? Okay. So it does take one more row, but I'm out of wall space and I can't go any taller. I've tried. I can't get any taller. Do you like it? Pretty? So what if? Did you get it? Everyone got the picture that they needed? Paparazzi cameras are still out. Step, repeat. Step, repeat. Okay. I heard that. Okay, this is the beauty of two backgrounds. So the other one you saw, here, let's look at this star right here. This whole star really pops out because it's all on the same background. Now you can flip them around so that the darker one goes in the center. And the first thing I see when I see this is, boy, that deserves some special quilting. All the same quilting in these triangles, and then these triangles, different quilting. And then it could really pop out. You can really see a star come out of that. But now we have two backgrounds, so we got to play with the options, right? Nope, that was the wrong one. That's wrong. That's wrong. Okay. What do you think of that one? You like that one? Oh, yeah, yeah. See, this our little secondary design here? We didn't get that. We didn't see that with the other one. And if you look, the secondary design here, can you see the different colors from where you're sitting, that there are 4 different colors there? So this is 4 fabrics, not as distinct as 2 fabrics, background fabrics. That's more distinct. So which one do I use? How many people for A, the very first one I showed? Raise your hands. How many people for the second one? Oh, vast majority say the second one. Interesting. Very interesting. So another color combination. If you look at the cover of the pattern, our original color is actually done in, oh, here I have one. I'll hold it up for you. This was our first cover. We'll probably change it over time. This was done in EQ. I do all the patterns in EQ. I put them in electric quilts to make sure that I like the way things look and you twist and turn. So this is just generic fabrics on EQ. So there's a lot of possibilities with this quilt. In fact, we already have another sample underway. Pointy Strip Star. I mean, it is what it is, right? Sometimes you got to name it what it is. Any questions? No questions on this? Okay, while I have you, I'm going to do some shameless plugging. Is that okay? You always do. It's true. All right, if I can draw your attention to our beautiful elephant over here. This is a pattern we have called Diagonally Inclined. The panel starts, I think it's about 27-inch wide by width of fabric. And then we have this wonderful diagonal piece border work to set it all off. So the quilting is done by Katie Green. I think I shared this at another strip club, but it's worth sharing again because I just love this. And if I can direct your attention to this wall, we have the same pattern now. The roses here. This is running yardage. It's one of the big print running yardages, and we cut it at about 27.5 inches for the center rose part. Same pattern, different look, different pieces. The little borders, the little roses make the secondary border, and then we have the green to create that diagonal effect. So this is our pattern Diagonally Inclined. Really terrific for those larger panels. And by larger panels, I mean like bigger than 2/3. Now, digital prints are coming on the market, and some beautiful stuff is coming out. That's kind of a new trend in the quilting world, are these digital prints. Now that we can get these bigger prints, this is going to be a terrific pattern to use them and have a workable quilt, not just a little wall hanging. So that pattern is called Diagonally Inclined. We do have it. Yes, it's one of our Cozy Quilt Designs patterns. It was originally written by Barbara Becker from our Panel Play book. And we actually made a standalone pattern because the technique is the same as written in the book, but the angles are different, so the sizes are a little different. So the standalone pattern is worth the purchase. And then the other thing I'd like to show you is our Block of the Month quilt here called Park Plaza. This fabric is in Tonga Skyview fabric. It's one of my designs with Timeless Treasure. This is a 6-month Block of the Month. And the way we do blocks of the month usually are one step per month. So the first month you might be making the little stars. You make a bunch of them to go into the quilt. The next step you might be making these sort of long, narrow segments. You make a bunch of those. And the next step might be the center star. So that's why it's a 6-month program. This size is the queen. It's also written for a throw, which is quite a bit smaller, and a king, which has, I think, just 2 more borders. A lot more piecework in the borders. Very pretty. So that's Park Plaza. So there's my shameless plugs, which apparently I always do. But they built me a stage, so I'm using it. Okay. Well, any other questions? Yes, we have a question.
What size ruler did you use to put your tape on it?
What size ruler did I use to put the tape on it? Okay, so this is 16-inch, 16.5-inch square up ruler. So if you never thought you needed a large square up ruler, guess what you do? You should have every square up ruler in every size, I'm just saying. Right? Because the other day I was like, oh gosh, I'd really like a 10-inch square up ruler. Oh, now I'd really like a 12-inch square up ruler. The closer the sizes to your cut, the easier it is to use. And painter's tape, that's a beautiful thing. Any other questions? Well, if there's no other questions for this month, we'll wrap it up, and then why don't you join me next month and we'll do another pattern that uses 2.5-inch strips.